Mhm. Good morning, dear students. Now we'll start it Manas, epic Manas, and everything what is connected with Manas. Okay, guys, the first as summary. Birth and childhood of Manas. In ancient time, in the land of Turkestan, there were Karahan and Oghuz Khan. After them, there were Alankacha, Bayur, and Uyghur. The tribes descended from Baygur spread to Andijan, Narin, Isikul, Chu, Leps, Irtish, Sari Arch, Ijungar, and other lands up to the Ural Mountains. Descendants of Baygur was to be from Tubei there was Kogei. Kogei had three sons, Nogoi, Chir, and Shigai. Nogoi had four sons, Orozdu, Uzen, Bai, and Jacob. Chinese military leaders, Molto and Alake, subdued sons of Nogoi and scattered them to different parts of the world. Younger son Jacob, with 40 Kyrgyz families, was banished to the distant Ally. Guy, Alai, it is in modern time, it is region of Russia country. Horse review. Guys, yeah, horses, it is uh, very big reach for Kyrgyz people. One brother of Nogoi, Chir, died, and Jacob had married the widow of Chir, whose name was Shakan. Guys, it is the ancient tradition when it's brother, maybe uncle, maybe it's a nearly relation, died, and the widow must be married, uh, son and nephew and other men, because the small child not be left without other relations. This tradition named it Levirat. She had forgotten her own name and named it herself in memory of her husband Chirdi. After that, Jacob married Bagbolot, daughter of Chayan, of Mongolian kind king in Altai region. In the Altai, Jacob mines gold, cultivates the land, grazes the herds, and gets fabulously rich. However, the fact that he did not have a children was upsetting him very much. Visionaries of Chinese Han Ising Han convey that the Kyrgyz people will have a child named Manas that will capture and destroy them. Jacob at that time was dreaming, being in his right hand he holds the sun, and in other hand holds the moon, and then places them in place from somewhere below him from the heavens a huge golden sword sparkling all over the world. Should interpreters explain that he will give birth to a hero son who will conquer China. The bird Aksakal gives her a white apple and asks to eat it for his wife's Chirdi. From this moment, Chirdi conceive. Blood in clenched fist. His weight was close to the weight of 15 years old teenager. During swearing, he put out the hand with the strength of the 30 years old man. He swallowed 3 good oils, and when he received milk, it in the second blood, The poor mother could hardly bear the pain. In honor of the newborn, Jacob decided to arrange a feast so that rumors about him would be passed on from generation to generation. At that guests arrived from Tibet, Kashgar, Tashkent, Samarkand, China, from the country of the Mongols, from Hindustan and Mecca itself. When the health resort and games ended, Jacob wrapped his son in the floor of his bathrobe and said to the elders of child's birth, he is my long-awaited firstborn. Take a look at him and give him a happy name. The elders looked at the child and marveled at his appearance. A narrow crown, a white forehead, with a humpy nose, generous hands, a tiger neck, a lion's mane, starry eyes. All this was signs of a formidable husband, an extraordinary hero, born for great things. They thought for a long time, and no one could find a happy name for him. And then a white-bearded old man crowned with a turban arrived from Mecca herself and asked to be allowed to give a name to the child. The elder began to speak Arabic, singing, "Let me be first. That is the image of prophet. Let there be noon in the middle. This in the image of a saint. Let there be sin in the end. This is the face of a lion. Let alif be between these letters. This is the first letter in the name of God, Allah. May his name be Manas. May all misfortune pass by." The elders liked the name Manas. They offered praise to God for a good name and named the baby like that. And when Jacob turned to them to thank to all three, he already disappeared as instantly as he had appeared. However, in order to avoid suspicion from the outside, he temporarily called Jang Jindi, big brother. The boy grew up as a mischievous, restless, and bold, does everything that he pleases. The meaning of the false name haunts him everywhere. The early years of Manas. Jacob and Shirley were grieving that their son was growing up in a bad way and decided to give him as a present to the shepherd Oshpur, who lived a day's journey from the village to Jacob, and asked not be sorry for their son. Manas began to patiently feed the lambs, look after the weak, look after the strong. He really wanted to show that he was not a slacker and capable of something. He dreamed of receiving a rewarded sheep for hard work and treating his parents. He was 9 years old. However, he was not obedient for long. He made many friends, shepherds, for whom he slaughtered lambs, which aroused the ire of Ashpur. Soon he became as violent as before, began to beat his peers and do whatever he pleases. The shepherd Ashpur asked Jacob to pick up his son, fearing that he will ruin him. Returned the so Kalmuks, he taken the heart of Jacob. Manas killed the leader of the Kalmuk with one blow, drew the rest from the horses, and threw him to the ground. Some jumped back on their horses, fled, and Manas gathered in pursuit of them. But Jacob, frightened, began to discourage his son. But Manas did not obey his father's instructions and galloped after the Kalmyks. Offended by his father, who scolded him for elegantly not listening to his father. Manas leaves the house and goes into the steppe. There he meets the old wizard Babadi Khan, the patron saint of farmers, and the advice of whom he begins to sow cereals and buy the horse Akula for the harvested grain. Then he meets the holy prophet Hizir, who gives the hero 6 words that have descended from heaven. Manas goes in search of relatives, meets Bakai, Adjibey, and Shu too, who become his choro. Returning, they met a caravan of 45 loaded camels and 700 warriors led by Nukerdu. The victory over the Kalmyk detachment of 700 soldiers is Manas' first major feat. Having received the news, Asenhan directs 10,000 soldiers led by Joloi against Manas. Manas defeats the army of Joloi, who flees. More than once battles of Manas and his troops with enemies take place. Asenhan scouts who tried to capture Manas while playing the hold by Niskara's troops. Manas defeats the monster from the gun of Akelt. After the fall of the witch, he cuts the Achalbars with a sword into 2 parts. According to legend, since then the river that flows in the area is called Kulja. The proclamation of Manas Khan. Upon returning to the village of Jakub to the Mamardin Sazi locality, convened a gathering and made a great sacrifice in honor of the victory. Jakub made a speech. If we count all Kazakhs, Kyrgyz, Kalmyks, Mongols, Usuns, Naimans, Noiguts, and other in our Jamaat, then there will be up to 90,000 soldiers. It is necessary to choose a Khan from these husbands who in peacetime guard the borders of the native land. During the war, enemies face the terrible days of disasters, blood robbery, and extermination of the people. They take out the scabbard and, like a hurricane with a loud war cry, rush forward enemy hostility. One of the autumn days, Old Jacob is located in the Idigant riverbed. Once from all the surrounding isles, young men gathered and decided to go to the steppe to arrange feast, to hunt with dogs and hunting birds. The oldest of them was 25, the youngest was 15. Having gathered, they said, "We have long outlined Manas. Being a Khan is best suited to him." Manas stabbed a great 3-year-old and divided the meat among all. Then the Jugids raised Manas on the white felt and proclaimed him Khan. The elders of the clans in consultation decided to choose a Khan. Most of them pointed to Manas and decided to choose him as Khan. Then on a swan white felt, they raised Manas Khan and handed him the reins in his hand as a sign of power. Since then, Jacob has changed a lot, forgot about his stinginess, and made a feast. At this feast, Erkokcho, the son of the Kazakhs by Tir Aydar Khan, was proclaimed a terror. On the advice of Akbaltam, Manas goes to look for his people and the famous Kyrgyz hero Koshoy, having met him in the area of Atbashi and consulted with him. Manas, with his ale, migrate to the Teles Valley. Second lecture. The return of the Kyrgyz from Altai to their homeland. Manas campaigns in Central Asia. After some time, Manas opposed the invader Alokea, who colonized and ruled the Anjizar Valley. Manas defeats his army and heals himself when trying to attack. The wealth left of the Chinese is distributed by the generous Manas to the local population. The happy people elect him Khan, and the local ruler Shoruk and Ahar gives his daughter Akilai. Chubak is adopted son of Agbalta, who is found at the age of 6 months in the field. A childless Akbalta happily adopted a boy. From the age of 6, he sent to study in Medina. Upon returning to his homeland, Alai Chubak is Manas in a dream. On the way to Manas, Chubak unexpectedly appears Kizir and gives him a war horse, Kyokala. Manas and his horse, Kyokala. Marriage of Manas to Kanake. The driving motive for the marriage of Manas to the daughter to the Bukhara ruler Atimir, Timir Khan, Sani Rabak, subsequently Kanake, is that the first two wives of Manas Akilai, daughter of the Afghan Khan Shoruk, and Karaburg, daughter of the Kalmyk Khan Kayib, went as a result of military victory over their fathers. The named brother and close friend of Manas Salmanbek does not consider that wives of Manas worthy of him, since they were married not according to the traditional custom, by agreement with parents and for dumplings. Manas' father Jacob wandered for a long time in the thought of a bride for his son. And finally, he heard about the unprecedented beauty and mind of the daughter of the ruler of Bukhara, Atimir Khan, Sani Rabi. Atimir Khan requested a huge ransom of 100,000 livestock of full for genera, hoping that Jacob would be scared and refuse. However, Jacob said, "You did not appreciate your daughter, Khan Timur. It is more expensive than 100,000 heads of cattle. Its price is equal to the soul of my son. I agree to give your ransom. As befits a matchmaker, having distributed gold and silver, brought an a spare horse. Jacob, with happy news, set off on his return trip. It is Kanike, wife of Manas. Chris commands Usen, together with the children, who received the nickname Koskaman, which literally means boar, eyes, was the brother of Jacob. After many years of living in China, he migrated with his already adult sons to Talas and asks Manas to shelter them. Manas agrees with the great joy and gives them a certain amount of cattle and land. But after a while, they plot to kill Manas, marry Kaneke, and seize power in their hands. They invite Manas to visit and treat them to poisoned kumis. Kumis, it is national drink. It is milk of horse. Anticipating the bed, Kaneke sends the companions of Manas after him. They kill the cursed commands and save Manas. Great campaign. During the first Ed Toshtuk held on the occasion of his return after 7 years of wandering underground, 12 Kyrgyz Khans and Beks conspired among themselves and without listening to Koshoy's advice, they decided to defeat Manas. However, when they presented themselves to Manas, they were frightened, and to his question, "Why did you come, friends?" They answered that they decided to oppose Konurbay. Manas decided to go camping. The commander of the Kyrgyz forces chose Almanbet. Almanbet introduced new military orders, thus the calculation of the entire army, which amount to 42 to men. After 40 days and nights of travel, the army stopped for a break at the suggestion of Bekai and Manas, taking with him the comrades of Sergak and the war horse of Ajibe Karaturgen. Almanbet went on recognitions. It is Almanbet. Near a friend and the near friends Manas. After they departed, who succumbed to the incitement of the head of the 40 Choro, Kyrgyz, offended by the fact that he was not taken in intelligence. Chubak made a scandal and rushed for Almanbet and Sergat. Having received the news, Manas goes after them. Chubak overtakes Almanbet and does not pay attention to reasonable words, insult him, calling him an alien and a traitor. Manas, having arrived in time at the moment when they drew their swords, opened then and expressed his resentment for their behavior. Almanbet and Chubak make peace and ask for forgiveness from Manas. After that, the four of them climb to the top of Tal Choku, which it is the Kyrgyz Chinese border, and examined the enemy lands through a telescope. At the request of Manas, Al-Mahmed talks about the situation of the Chinese, as well as his own story, which was once forbidden to tell Manas the wise Bakai and Kaniki. His father, Aziz Khan, the mother of Altinai, is the daughter of Shorundu, having quarreled with the Chinese nobles who wanted to kill him. Al-Mambet, on the advice of his mother, converted to Islam and left his homeland. 6 years he lives with Kekche, but after the slander that haunted him everywhere, Al-Mamed leaves Kekche and makes a pilgrimage to Mecca. From there he returns to Bukhara, where he meets with Bakai. He becomes the twin of Manas, having performed the ritual taking the chest of Chirdi who has milk. Chubak with Manas remain on the Tal Choku Pass, and Almambet and Sergat go further. Along the way, they destroy the Kutulku, sly fox, Kulja, cunning wild boar, Hunor, tricky duck, Cyclops Malgun, the hero Kanishai, who were guardians of Chinese borders. Facing the place where Almambet was born, they meet the head of the herdsmen of Karagul and with the help of Katurgen steal numerous herds of horses of Konurbai, which once belonged to the Kogis. Konurbai, with a large army, chases and catches up with him. During the battle, Amambet and Sergak alternately help each other out. Manas sees what happens in a dream, and together with Chubak, he goes to help Amambet and Sergak. Together, the four heroes force the enemies to flee, but reinforcement arrive at them, and the fighting continues with its great bitterness. In the end, the enemies are defeated, and Manas becomes the hunter of extreme Beijing, Chet Beijing. Applying cunning and insidious tricks, Konurbai wounds Manas. The battle begins again. The Manas army suffers heavy losses. It loses its closest friends, 12 associates of its military squad. Returning to his homeland, Manas dies of a wound. It is finished. Thank you for attention.